A warm good afternoon to you, and thank you for waiting for this week's sip of News Infusion. We'll be virtually visiting our neighbor Zimbabwe and addressing the tension and confusion that has come about in the past few weeks. Do share, like, and comment, as this week we are addressing issues head on.
Why would you say that there is a crisis of that magnitude that you're talking about? Those envoys who came to Zimbabwe will be able to tell you that they saw a peace-loving people, they saw a stable country, they saw a leadership that is engaged seriously with ensuring that it rallies the nation in fighting this global pandemic. Okay?
National Assembly Speaker Baleka Mbete and former Minister Mufamadi are going to be the envoys looking at the issue in Zimbabwe. Do you think that's a good step?
Well, it is a step. And we are saying that they must come back with results. They mustn't go and sit there in hotels and party together and talk about the good old days of the struggle and not address issues of journalists going missing, of activists going missing on a daily basis, mothers being beaten with knobkieries in the street. They must address those issues to say that we cannot afford that our people are beaten just for having a different voice from what they are having.
Speaking on the allegation of human rights violations and the economic crisis that has been going on in Zimbabwe, I don't think it would be right for me to speak on the situation that is going on, not having experienced it myself. And so I would like Ivanashe, who is originally from Zimbabwe, to share his experience and how he feels about the situation.
For me, I'm going to start with the current situation in Zimbabwe, as it is the best premise to explain how I'm feeling with regards to the whole situation. And for me, with the human rights allegations, which are obvious, it is concerning. It is concerning because free thinkers are being abducted. Journalists are being arrested and being accused of acting out of fury against the state. And then if you look at the allegations themselves and the bail processes, it's very, very concerning. Now, going back now, answering the second question, how do I feel, well, coming from the historicity of Zimbabwe to this day?
Yeah.
A lot is to be desired, and a lot has to be achieved within Zimbabwe. And we are waiting for it, but it hasn't yet arrived.
Now, the ZANU-PF National Information Director, Tafadzwa Mugadi, says there is no crisis in Zimbabwe. What are your thoughts? And do you think people are just blowing up matters, in Zimbabwe out of proportion? Caesar?
Well, for me, no, there's nothing being blown out of proportion in Zimbabwe. For me, I actually think that what's happening in Zimbabwe is far more worse than we think. Because people are being abducted for basically speaking out their minds, for speaking out against what the government is doing to them, So, like, if you watch that interview that he did on SABC, this Tafadzwa Mugwadi guy, it was just pure arrogance what was happening there. He was ducking and diving questions. He didn't even want to get straight to answers. He was not planning to answer any of the questions there. So it for me, I feel like it's even worse. It's not being blown out of proportion because people are being arrested there, and abducted. They're beaten up by police. So no, for me, it's not blown out of proportion, and it is what it is. It's actually what we're seeing, what's happening.
Yes. Ivanashe, do you think matters are being blown out of proportion, or is that what is happening?
In my view, this Tafadzwa Mugwadi person is I would like to say he's in delusions of grandeur. Living in a utopic psychedelic world where he is trying to stay away from the actual problems that are in Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe is in a crisis. Minister Zulu of the ANC absolutely came out and called out the Zimbabwe crisis. Opposition leader Julius Malema absolutely acknowledged the crisis in Zimbabwe. I myself, coming from Zimbabwe, there is a crisis. If he is saying that there is no crisis in Zimbabwe, why doesn't Zimbabwe have its own currency? Why cannot Zimbabwe solve its own problem? Why a lot of Zimbabweans like me are leaving Zimbabwe to hoping to find a greener pastures?
Yeah.
Why are journalists like Hopo Chingono, Jacob Ngarivume, free thinkers like Titi Dangarembwa, free thinkers like Advocate Fadzai Mahere are being abducted, are being arrested for calling out the government against corruption?
Yeah.
If there is no crisis, why is it what's his name? Kudakwashi Tagvire, one of the president's closest allies, has been placed under sanctions. For me, he is just playing deflated PR of trying to move away, of trying to portray a picture that is not there. The veil is now off. There is a crisis in Zimbabwe.
There is.
I know we always associate democracy with freedom of speech, yet in the country that claims to be democratic, those who share their opinions, thoughts, and critiques are often arrested. Now, do you guys think the Zimbabwean government fears criticism?
I mean, I'd say yes, Zimbabwean government does fear criticism. I mean, they claim to be a democratic government, but they have the characteristics of an authoritarian government, you know. When citizens are, as Ivana is saying, that they said that the citizens are the God, they are God, you know, but they are not listening to them. When citizens are trying to voice out their opinions, when they are trying to speak out against the government is labeling them as agents of foreign agencies like the U.S. Embassy. They're saying that the U.S. Embassy is funding them to demonstrate against government to remove Mnangagwa. I mean, they are basically talking about the injustices that are happening to them. You know, they're not trying to go against anyone, but they are saying that what you guys are doing to us is wrong.
God, we are absolutely practicing and exercising what I would call an apartheid, Rhodesian, Ian Smith type of governance. A governance that suppresses the free thinkers, a system that suppresses a dictatorial system that hoodwinks people of thinking that we are in a society that is tolerant, but which is not the case.
Which is not.
Which defeats what they were saying on the 27th in November 2017 when the coup happened, right? The president said the voice of the people is the voice of God. So if he is saying that the voice of people is the voice of God, I am God, I am speaking. Mr. President said,
he's not listening.
Free Hopo Chingono, free Jacob Ngarivume, allow us to protest peacefully. Do not send hounds, state security forces to abduct us. No, allow us to express our minds.
Exactly. And how would you know what is going on the ground if, you know, citizens are not expressing how they feel and, you know, whether or not they're actually content with the government that is sitting?
Exercising what I would call an apartheid, Rhodesian, Ian Smith type of governance.
It's very important because I think people don't understand what us as Zimbabweans really want. We have seen a lot of people talking on our behalf, but we have never been given a chance for us to express ourselves. So the thing is, we are tired. We are here in South Africa as economic migrants, not because we want to, but because of the situation back home. So we are running away from home, but these people, they don't want to reform. ZANU-PF doesn't want to reform. They've been abusing our people for a very long time, and we cannot continue. Quiet diplomacy has not worked. During Mugabe's tenure, we were being victimized. Journalists were being arrested, killed. We're seeing the same things happening now. We cannot allow that to continue. And South Africa is the chair of African Union. Why are they not saying anything? For old men in the ANC to pretend as if they don't know what is happening, yet it's a public secret. Everything, videos are there.
Intergovernmental organizations SADC and the African Union encourage the likes of unity, peace, and security. Yet in time of crisis, when the fellow member state needs support and intervention, those objectives seem to disappear into the air. At the same time, each state aims to protect its sovereignty and wouldn't want any other country overstepping their boundaries. Now, why was the African continent quick to support America in the time of the Black Lives Matter movement, but failed to provide the same energy in supporting fellow Africans in time of crisis? In other words, why are we still worshipping the West? Caesar?
I feel like as Africans, we don't really take our matters seriously. But when something happens in Europe, say, or in North America, in the West, we then start taking it serious. I mean, look at Black Lives Matter, with justice for for George Floyd. We even changed our profile pictures,
Exactly.
We had George Floyd in our profile pictures. It was hashtag Black Lives Matter all the way, we were supporting it on Twitter, on Facebook, on WhatsApp. But when it comes to Zimbabwean Lives Matter, we sort of waited for some time to actually know what's going on and see if is it really necessary for us to get in, to get involved.
Is it real? Yeah.
Like, yeah, is it real, and to show that some of us didn't even want to get into this whole Zimbabwean Lives Matter. When Lasizwe on Twitter said he stands with Zimbabweans, there were a few there were like 3 Zimbabwean guys who said no, we actually don't stand with gays, and then all of a sudden South Africans were like, oh, okay, so we're also backing out since you guys are discriminating Lasizwe and whatsoever, so we're no longer stand with you guys. And these 3 guys don't reflect the views of all Zimbabweans, know. So it shows that you guys didn't even want to participate in this whole thing all along. Now you're hiding behind these 3 guys, you're hiding behind their homophobic views, you understand. So, and also the AU chairperson, President Cyril Ramaphosa, he condemned the bombing of the bombing that took place in Beirut, in Lebanon, before even talking about Zimbabwean Lives Matter.
Exactly.
I feel like he didn't do much. Even the AU, they were quiet. The SADC, they were all quiet. So for me, even here, as with South Africans, Black Lives Matter, the whole George Floyd thing, it got that we made so much noise about it, but when it came to Collins Khoza and the Marikana issue, all those people didn't get enough attention like Black Lives Matter. So I feel like as Africans, we don't take our issues seriously, but when it comes to Western issues, then we're like, oh, this is actually real. Hey guys, actually Black Lives Matter Black lives do matter after all.
The thing is, it feels like the euphoria of Pan-Africanism that started in the 1960s, that saw 3 years later, 1963, we saw the birth of the Organization of African Unity, that saw the birth and the emancipation of countries like Ghana, of countries like Guinea, of countries like Kenya, and fast forwarding 1980s Zimbabwe, fast forwarding 1994 South Africa. You see, however, we are still waiting for the independence of Western Sahara. Anyway, that's another topic for another day. But retracting back to the current situation, the problem with our leaders nowadays is that they want to please the white men from who's over the ocean.
That's true.
They want to sound relevant because they want to be known as their globalists. Whilst next door, women are being abducted. Whilst next door, people cannot even access decent water, reticulation. People cannot even access proper savings. When people cannot even access, women cannot even access sanitary pads. Sanitary pads in Zimbabwe, they are expensive. Whereby you see a person or a civil servant is getting 4,000 Zimbabwean dollars. If President Cyril Ramaphosa does not address this current situation that we are having in Zimbabwe, whereby ministers like Lindiwe Zulu is calling out the government of Zimbabwe, Once the borders are going to be open, we are going to witness a mass exodus of Zimbabweans coming to Mozambique, South Africa, Botswana, Zambia. Let alone now, that is going to trigger another xenophobic wave in South Africa.
Exactly.
True.
Which for me as a Zimbabwean, I do not want that. In my view, as Pan-African leaders, they need to know thyself first. Am I South African? Am I African? Am I Zimbabwean? What happens next door is going to affect him here in South Africa.
We all rely on each other. Yeah. No, I hear your frustration. I hear your frustration, Ivanashe. Your flag even fell down. It's real. Hashtags, petitions, blogs, and the use of social media in general. Are these the new ways of seeking justice, and are they effective? Caesar, your take?
For me, I myself, I participated in all the hashtags, particularly the Zimbabwean hashtag Zimbabwean Lives Matter. So I do think that they are helpful, even though they are not like the ultimate way of solving this, but they do get the message across, even with people like Musi Maimane on Twitter, he was tagging people like Lupita Nyong'o, people like Trevor Noah, because those are people who have millions and millions of followers. He was basically trying to get the message across to say, hey, it's burning in Zimbabwe. Please, you guys are influential. Please influence people. Please let people know that it's going down there. We need this. We need your support, just as much support that was given with Black Lives Matter. So. But I feel like all these petitions and all the hashtags, it also depends on where they fall off. I mean, if they fall on blind eyes and deaf ears, then they're going to be redundant, they're going to be useless. But so far, they do contribute, so far they do get the message across.
2012, the Arab Spring happened.
Yes.
The Tunisian president, Ben Abdel Ben Ali, was toppled through what's it called? Through his social media. Hosni Mubarak, the former president of Egypt, hashtag Occupy Tahrir Square led to the toppling of Hosni Mubarak. However, unfortunately, as for Libya, Gaddafi also, that's another discussion for another day. But what I'm trying to drive home here is social media is the only way we can use to address the current status quo. Because look at it, we cannot go to war. We cannot use guns. We cannot use guerrilla warfare. Because that in itself, it has devastating effects in Zimbabwe or within any certain territory. Look at Syria. Syria has been in war since then, Yes. And now, if you look at the situation in Zimbabwe, that is the only way we can express ourselves. Hashtag Zimbabwean Lives Matter. Look at the cost of war in itself. Women, children, lives, education, even the whole region of SADC is halted because there's internal conflict. The only civil way we can address or raise issues where we do not witness blood being spilled, where we do not witness people being violated, however, though we are witnessing it, but that is the only way we can use to raise or to set upon a platform where people can express themselves. A diplomatic and a diplomatic manner where we can talk about look hashtag Zimbabwean Lives Matter. So answering your question, Jessica and Caesar, is that yes, hashtags work. Hashtags work. Look at how the government itself in Zimbabwe is reacting towards hashtag Zimbabwean Lives Matter.
Exactly.
The government itself is starting to respond against it.
I want to say strength to the people of Zimbabwe, and kudos to Zimbabwean journalists, activists, people like Tsitsi Dangaregba. I say, aluta continua, guys. Freedom is not free after all. So if it means you're going to be labeled as a government's enemy when you're speaking out against the government, then do it. Yeah, just do it. Power and strength to them. That's all I have to say. It's not yet uhuru for all of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
power and strength. Ivanashe?
I would love to use my vernacular tongue, Shona, but unfortunately, Zimbabwe is a multilingual country.
Yeah.
We have we have Kalangas, we have Tongas, we have Vendas, we have Shona people, we have a lot of people. But I'm going to keep it focused. To my fellow Zimbabweans, it is a journey that we have to endure. We are facing a rogue nation that is willing to spill our blood, firing bullets, helter-skelter. The only way we can stand against this regime is to unite as Zimbabweans.
It's very easy to say that you know a place just from the outside, but it's only when you're there, experiencing it all, that you can have a true understanding of your environment. We hope that this episode opened up your heart and mind to a new dawn that requires building with each other rather than destroying one another. Be sure to catch News Infusion at 12 p.m. next week, Wednesday.